It wouldn't be 2018 and it wouldn't be Learning Now television without Martin Couzins presenting research reports. And this month he's focusing on the Good Practice Report, on what managers really think, which was launched at the end of last year. So what do managers really think, Martin?
Well, Good Practice have pulled together this report of over 500 managers in organisations with 500 employees or more. And it's all about their perceptions of learning technologies. So, let's think about that word P for perception. It's not the truth, right?
And it's also not what learning people think. It's about what managers think, correct?
Yeah, so it's really good primary research of managers in UK organisations. And what do they think about learning technologies? Well, what they think about learning technologies is basically that the number one most, what's perceived to be the most useful learning technology is e-learning.
Shock, horror, gasp.
Well, yes. I mean, for those people who at the launch of the research, there was actually a gasp in the room.
Sharp intake of breath.
There was a sharp intake of breath. And that's not all. I'm just going to consult my notes. So basically, the number one method that which is perceived to be the most useful for managers for learning is face-to-face training. That's the number one.
No surprise.
Yeah. Number two is mentoring and coaching. And then we have e-learning as the number one method, technological, digital method.
What about mobile learning? It doesn't come out very well, does it?
So mobile learning, obviously an ongoing...
The thing that we're all fighting towards.
Yeah.
What do managers think of mobile
the ongoing?
learning?
Well, it comes down really low. I think it's 40 mobile apps are the least likely to be rated as useful. So 43% of them think it's useful. So mobile is really suffering in terms of perception amongst the management community in organisations, which is alarming because we've said it before through other research reports that managers hold the keys really to learning happening in their teams, and we have a whole cohort of people in organisations who just aren't perceiving mobile learning.
Don't believe it, basically.
Just don't think.
So what do you do with all this? So you're a learning leader. You realise that the thing that you're trying to get out of e-learning is what everyone loves. The thing that you're moving towards is what everyone hates. What do? Abandon your strategy? Or is there a natural lag that managers kind of get it, but a little bit longer than everyone else takes to get it? How do you see that?
Well, I don't see it in that way at all.
Okay.
Actually, I am amazed at. I was amazed at the reaction at that launch, and I am constantly amazed by primary research of the end user throwing up anomalies. And for me, it's why aren't learning leaders and learning teams aware of what the perceptions might be of what they're doing in their organisations? And why aren't they more aware of the problems that people are trying to overcome to perform better, and what those learning and performance needs might actually be related to those challenges?
So get closer to your people, essentially.
Well, I think I think this research throws up the idea that there are some challenging perceptions out there in the organisation, but they shouldn't come as a surprise. That's what I'm trying to say, because I think that this constant looking at what people are doing, how they're doing it, really surfacing the challenges, really designing for that and working with them to design for them to achieve more efficiency and productivity and the ability to do their job better. I think that's where the focus should be. But I think this is great. It's really good research because it's the challenge. It's like, wow, really, everyone loves face-to-face. So what is it about face-to-face they really like? Why is e-learning perceived to be so effective?
Yeah.
Really kind of, and that means that I think around all the hype and the buzz and the zeitgeist in learning technologies, I think we can kind of cut through that with this type of research and use it to go back to the business and say, well, so what does work for people?
So it's kind of throwing down the gauntlet. I think it's a really good report. I agree with you that we need to be challenged, and this report is fascinating in some of the data that it presents, regardless of whether we want to hear it or not. It's there, and everyone can read it. You can download this report free. It's very well written, it's very straightforward, and you probably should be talking about it amongst yourselves and in your organisations, and see if your perception or the perception in the report matches your perception and matches what your people think. So Martin, well done for bringing that to our attention. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Nigel.